includes 183 police officers that are attempting to go to school and continue on. And so I'm thankful to the mayor's office, thankful to the league, and especially thankful to the chief for helping getting this restored quickly. It was very worrisome. End of my comments.
Okay, we do have one public comment card on this item. We have Lou Turiaga.
Welcome, sir.
Morning, sir. Good morning. I need to bring a problem to your attention. There is no doubt that overtime needs to be managed. Many things can be deferred to when an officer is on duty, such as personnel complaint interviews.
Hey, Lou, you can start over, but will you introduce yourself and the organization?
Absolutely, sir. I apologize.
Okay, and then start over.
My name is Lou Turiaga. I am one of 9 directors from the Los Angeles Police Protective League.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
There is no doubt that overtime needs to be managed. Many things can be deferred to when an officer is on duty, such as personnel complaint interviews, FID interviews of recipient officers, and many administrative duties. However, there is an overtime management occurring that is actually overtime mismanagement. Our members are reporting several overtime management techniques being used by the department that are seriously interfering with the protection of the public and the ability of our officers to protect and to serve. My fellow directors will go into more detail on the mismanagement of overtime, but the ultimate cause of this mismanagement flows from the top of city government. Our captains may be making bad decisions in how to manage overtime because of pressure from the chief of police, but the chief of police is not being provided with the funds necessary to run the department by the mayor and the city council. The truth is that city government is trying to provide public safety on the cheap. Yes, overtime must be managed, but the reality is that police work sometimes requires overtime, period. The people of Los Angeles deserve to be protected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. On-duty officers withdrawn from street patrol, substandard arrest procedures, and overtime concerns overruling crime-fighting field decisions is unacceptable. There's a cost for public safety that must be budgeted and paid. The stories about the impact of overtime mismanagement that you're about to hear must be taken seriously, and these techniques must stop for the good of the people of Los Angeles.
Thank you, sir. The city attorney is
I think this item should have been for public comment. It was misnumbered up here for this item.
our fault.
So, because the items need to be relevant to the issue that's before the panel on that agenda.
You come back and tell it again for the third time. It'll sink in.
Okay. Item number 2 on the agenda, the report of the Chief of Police, Chief Paysinger.
Morning, Chief.
Morning, Mr. President. Excuse me, members of the commission. Just to dovetail on the comments made by Commissioner Saltzman about last week's graduation, I was very pleased to have had the opportunity in the stead of Chief Beck, who was on vacation, to preside at that graduating ceremony. Very meaningful to me because a member of that graduating class was one of my sons who graduated for the University of Southern California Department of Public Safety. He joins now me and one of my other sons who is also involved in public service, and it gave me just an enormous amount of pride that all 3 of us now are serving the public. And I can't imagine anyone, at least at that moment, that was more happier than myself and their mom. So I appreciate the opportunity given to me by Chief Beck. As for the crime, year-to-date 2014 versus 2013, homicide, we are down 8%, which essentially means in whole numbers 17 homicides year-to-date fewer, less than last. In sexual assaults is an 8.3% increase. Robberies are down 3.8%. Aggravated assaults up 19.4% for a total violent crime increase of 7.8% year to date. For property crime, burglary, we're down 8.7%. Burglary and theft from vehicle down 8.8%. theft from vehicle down 9.7%, and thefts down 1.2%, for a total property crime tally of minus 6.5%, which brings the entire tally for all Part 1 crime to negative 4.0%. As Mr. President, as I often mention, sometimes we get caught up in the percentages, but in truth, these numbers represent a difference of nearly 3,200 fewer Part 1 crimes this year compared to last. Breakdown by bureau: Central Bureau is currently down they're up 1.9%. South Bureau is down 4.4% in Part 1 crime. The Valley is down nearly 10% at 9.1%, and West Bureau brings in a tally of minus 1.8%. For personnel staffing, sworn personnel on payroll, which includes recruits in the academy, plus the 69 municipal police officers assigned to Security Services Division, brings the department strength to 9,912. Our civilian personnel totals 2,740. We're currently holding 607 civilian vacancies. Level 1 reserve officers are 265. Level 2s are 19. Level 3s are 142. Specialist volunteers are 372. And chaplain counselors at 49. And we currently have a tally of 5,450 Los Angeles Police cadets. As a reminder, the next cadet academy graduation is Saturday, November 22nd at 11 o'clock at the USC Galen Center. For all of you that might be interested, I would urge you to come early, because if you don't, you'll likely not get a seat. Mr. President, that concludes the report of the Chief of Police.
Chief, let's hone in on one thing. Will you define aggravated assault for me?
Aggravated assault is a situation, is a crime in which a person commits a crime against another with some degree of violence, whether it be with a physical violence or with some instrument which is likely to produce great bodily harm.
Okay, so the spike in that, which is what 19 or something so far?
19%.
Okay, so there are many variables that happen in these. Can you talk about a couple of those variables?
Mr. President, one of the
anything being classified added into that number now that wasn't in the number before, or are these apples to apples versus?
We consistently review and refine and enhance the way we classify crimes. And to your point, there are certain circumstances where reclassifications of certain batteries end up being aggravated assaults or assaults with deadly weapons. But I think the other important issue has to do with other unintended consequences of education of the public. As you know, this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And typically when the Los Angeles Police Department, the City of Los Angeles, I know the mayor has a very aggressive campaign to bring awareness to domestic violence, the results of those marketing efforts to bring awareness to the public often ends up with an increased degree of reporting.
I see.
And many times we see spikes in not necessarily the number of crimes, but the number of crimes that are reported to the police department.
Okay, so we're talking about variables that are not within our control. Is any part of this within our control? Is there anything that we think that we, when you as I'm not talking about this specifically, but as over a period of years, as these things ebb and flow, are there specific things that will raise a red flag saying, gee, this number is dropping, we've got to really congratulate ourselves on this, and maybe we can move some resources to another place, or in this case, is there anything we can do proactively? We'd like people to report domestic crime. I mean, that's, I'd like the number to go up if it's just about reporting, because reporting leads to solutions.
Well, the greater population of felony assaults assaults with a deadly weapon, aggravated assaults. Typically, there are some preventive educational measures that we can use, deployment techniques that we can use in order to overcome some of those that we see on a day-to-day basis. However, the issue of domestic violence, I think, is one more so of education.
Yes.
It's difficult to regulate or police behaviors that occur behind closed doors.
Right.
Having said that, there's also a number of different resources, social services, behavioral science services to which members of the public who are at risk can take greater advantage of those services to lessen the frequency with which those incidents occur. Much of what we see in terms of domestic violence may or may not be something that police can impact by way of traditional policing. Frankly, if I had that answer, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Sure.
But by the same token, just in terms of social services, education, prevention, intervention on the part of those resources, I think in long term we'll have a better impact.
Right. Okay. Thanks. I also want to point out that I believe that we need more officers. I think that the department as a whole is underfunded. The morale based on the issues with lack of salary increases, I think, is a factor as well. So I don't believe it's unique to Los Angeles. I believe it's probably systemic in a lot of big cities and in government policing, but that doesn't say it doesn't hurt us here. We're operating with very limited resources all along, and I congratulate the people that are wearing those boots. And in fact, there are a number of people from the league here that I'd just like you to stand up so we can acknowledge you. Guys. Thanks for taking the time. Okay, thank you, Chief.
Okay, we do have 4 public comment cards on this item. We have Michael Bond, John Smith, Carl Williams, and Jackie Lee.
My colleagues, please sit down. Who puts "fuck white niggers" on a ticket? This is a ticket from the city of Los Angeles that has "fuck white niggers too" as a crime. I'm going to be giving each one of you guys a copy. This ticket says the city of Los Angeles. This ticket says "fuck white niggers too" as a crime. Los Angeles should be ashamed of themselves. I think all of you guys have made a mockery out of the system. The city of Los Angeles, first ticket to the African American, Michael Hunt. "Fuck white niggers too" on the ticket. What section, what penal code is that? If any of you guys can answer that question, I give you $100. If any of you guys can answer that question, what ticket that says "fuck white niggers too" is a crime?
I'll give you $100 to stop using that offensive language.
It's the city of Los Angeles. Wait, it's the city of Los Angeles. This is my 2 minutes.
Listen to me. You're becoming repetitious.
Okay, but no,
that is not allowed.
This is what the city of Los
I
Angeles
understand that.
said.
You've said that several times now.
Okay, but I just wanted everybody to know. What do you mean you'll give me $100 for it? You don't even supposed to speak. According to the Brown Act, you're supposed to sit back and listen. You're a bad commissioner. You need to resign as of now. You really do. This is public comment. This is my 2 minutes.
On this item.
This is statistics.
On
This
this
is a crime.
item.
This is
Right.
the crime report.
Right.
This is a ticket from the city of Los Angeles. You guys just don't want to pay attention. You guys just keep on making the same mistake. You guys break federal law and think you guys can get away with it, and you guys amended a complaint to make it a federal violation. You guys just really don't understand. Thank you.
John Smith, Kevin Smith, Carl Williams,
need for the board of LAPD really and truly need to look into this new ordinance that the city councilor Mike Bonin passed towards black vendors in Venice Beach. We have no opportunity of making an honest living because Mr. Mike Bonin wants to discriminate against us, using the LAPD to harass us up and down the boardwalk, while people getting killed, run over by a car, stabbed. His community got one of the biggest gang violence, drugs problem, and he's not solving that. They're not protecting the public, but they use the police to harass vendors. And when the police are harassing vendors, people getting stabbed, getting robbed, drug selling left and right around the police. I've been there for over 10 years, and I see several fight. People get stabbed, chopped, and no police ever be in the vicinity when those crimes take place. But the police take the time to go up and down the boardwalk and harass the black vendor because the city councilor tell them to do so, and the store owners, and also the store leasers, because they figure more or less if they get rid of the black vendor, the store can make more money because they pay rent and they pay taxes. The state of California give us the right to be there. And who is them to discriminate against us? That's straight discrimination. And they're using the police them as a guinea pig to go up and down the boardwalk to harass us for no reason. We're not committing any crime. We have a right to be there, and we have a right to buy and sell. So they harassing us for no reason. And St. Augustine say, an unjust law is no law.
The final card on this item, Jackie Lee.
I just have one thing to say: free Venice Beach.
That is the final card on this item. We're now on item number 3, the report of the Executive Director, Mr. T. Fink.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the Commission. Just a few administrative items. First, our next community meeting is going to be Tuesday evening, October 21st at 6:30 p.m. It will be at Green Meadows Recreation Center at 431 East 89th Street, which is in Councilmember Curran Price's district. And because of that meeting, there will be no regular commission meeting on that Tuesday, October 21st at 9:30. There will also be no regular commission meeting on Tuesday, October 28th. So after next week's meeting, our next regular commission meeting on Tuesday will be on Tuesday, November 4th. And also for the agenda today, it was an error by staff. Item 8A should be removed from the agenda. That'll be scheduled in the month of November. That concludes my report.
No meeting on the 28th?
Yes, sir, that's correct. There'll be a number of staff out of the office at a training session.
Okay. And there is a meeting on the 4th?
November 4th.
And there is a meeting next week?
Yes, sir, there is a meeting next week.
Okay, good.
We do have 3 comment cards on this item. We have Michael, we have Carl Williams, and Jackie Lee.
Thank you to my colleagues right here who's been supporting me to free Venice Beach. HailToTheNiggers.com. Please sit down.
Carl Williams.
Good morning. All we need for you all, the boards of LAPD to do is to tell the police them stop enforce their own law, because they tell us things that the ordinance say.
Okay,
and it's
the
not in
comments,
the ordinance.
sir, the comments on this item need to be relevant to this agenda item. Okay?
Okay. Let's free Venice Beach. Free the black people. Make us make an honest living. We don't want to commit crime
Okay.
and end up in your
I'm
jail.
going to tell you again.
Next.
Jackie Lee. Okay. Okay, we're now on item number 4, the report of the Inspector General, Mr. Bustamante.
Thank you, Commissioners. No comment today.
Thank you. We're now on item number 5. Item number 5 consists of information items and filed items relative to noise variances and special event permits submitted for the period ending October 3rd, 2014. Item number 6, presentations. Do we have any presentations?
None today.
Thank you. Item number 7 is consent agenda items. These items are considered to be routine and uncontroversial, upon which the board is provided with adequate information for approval without inquiry or discussion. Would a commissioner wish to pull an item as special for discussion, 7A through 7C?
Move approval of items 7A through 7C.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're now on item number 8, regular agenda items. Would a commissioner wish to pull an item as special for discussion, 8B through 8I?
I'd be interested in hearing from the department on item 8I.
Kathleen, did you have one?
No, that's the same one.
Okay.
8I and
Move approval of items 8B, 8C, 8D, 8E, 8F, 8G, and 8H.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're now on item 8I, Department's Report dated October 3rd, 2014, relative to the proposed Los Angeles Police Department's annual audit plan for fiscal years 2014 and 15 and 2015-16, IAID number 14-052.
Good morning. Jody Wakefield and Jeff Phillips from Internal Audits and Inspection Division. Before you is the proposed department annual audit plan for fiscal years 14-15 and 15-16. It's part of my responsibility as a commanding officer of internal audits and inspections to come up with a audit plan every 2 years and present it to the Police Commission for approval. And in doing so, it's a lengthy process. It took at least 6 to 8 months to prepare this. And in preparation, few of the things that we did do is that we looked at the department manual. There's mandated audit from the consent decree that we are responsible to look at periodically. That is on the audit plan for this next 2 fiscal years. We also looked at some prior audit reports to look at any high-risk issues that had low compliance. We conducted a department-wide survey, which included command and executive staff, the Inspector General's office, and the Board of Police Commissioners. We compiled that list and also handled a few interviews with some key stakeholders, and we came up with this audit plan, which we feel is a very comprehensive plan and covers the majority of the high-risk issues, but gives us flexibility in the next 2 years with some changes that always occur to be able to add or revise the audit plan, and we would notify the Police Commission of any of those changes. In addition, attached is the charter under which we have our guidelines on how we operate and how we conduct our audits, giving us authority to go in and collect information, reports, interviews, to conduct these audits, and independence in that I report directly to the Special Assistant for Constitutional Policing, and he reports directly to the Chief of Police. If you have any questions, I have Jeff here who can answer them. I'm just kidding. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Plus, this is my last audit plan. I will be retiring in 2016, so Jeff will be taking it from there.
Wow.
I don't have any specific questions, but I just think it's a good opportunity to emphasize the importance of the independence of the Audits Division and just to recognize the important work that you do.
Yes, because of the Chief of Police and the support and the understanding of how important audits are for the independence and the unbiased nature of it, we do, we go over the findings with the command staff and the audit team, and they give us their input, and we look at that, and there may be some changes, but truly it cannot be edited by anybody other than our shop or my boss, and that independence is important for our credibility.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I don't have any other
Okay.
questions. I just wanted to make sure we paid attention to it, and since Commissioner Kim and I had already met previously, I've had my questions answered, but looks like we're in good shape to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. President, if you could make sure you sign the charter for us, I'd appreciate it. There's a place for you to sign, yes. Thank you.
Well, since you're retiring, so this is your last report.
It's my last report, but I'll be
Right.
here for another 18
No, but I mean,
months.
this is your, this has to be a sense of real pride for you.
Well, my last annual
Because we're going to
audit
scrutinize this one extra carefully.
I will be before you again, but
This
not with
is
an annual
your
audit.
legacy right here.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I'll sign it. Okay.
Thank you.
We have a motion for approval of,
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're now on item number 9, public comment. We have 3 comment cards. We have Lou Turiaga, Mark Cronin, and Jaretta Sandos.
It's okay with the commissioners. I'll defer to my prior comment, and the other directors will follow up from there.
Okay, welcome back. You're a regular.
Good morning. My name is Mark Cronin. I'm a director at the Los Angeles Police Protective League.
Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. We've received information from LAPD officers that some divisions are withdrawing units from the field 2 hours before end of watch to prevent them from becoming involved in anything that will result in overtime. At a time when we are short-handed in the field already, this neutralization of patrol units from their assigned areas can only contribute to the already unacceptable 7.4% rise in violent crime. Violent crime is primarily suppressed by visible patrol and observation activity by patrol officers. Restricting patrol cars from the field 2 hours early cheats the people of Los Angeles of needed protection. Furthermore, in one division, specialized units such as vice, narcotics, and gangs are told that their overtime goal is 0. This can only be accomplished by disengaging from field activities hours before end of watch. It has been also reported that the mental evaluation unit officers are not being given calls that come out too late in their shift because obtaining a hospital bed can range between 1 and 4 hours, which results in overtime. Table detectives report that they cannot keep up with the caseload demand and have a significant backlog. They have no overtime policy, and victims are not being contacted, and suspects are not going to jail. Intimidation of officers who just want to work is occurring all over the city. In one division, there's a white binder at the watch commander's desk. It's even a white board in another division. Officers are required to make copies of their overtime slips and put them in this binder for the captain to monitor. The belief is that the captain will use the book to make a list of problem officers. One officer told us, "I personally feel uncomfortable when I get overtime, especially if I'm overtime on back-to-back nights. I feel like I'm doing something wrong." This is going to become an issue if we don't address it. Thank you.
Next.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I just want to start by saying that the problem is not managing overtime. We understand that that has to happen. The problem occurs, for example, last year, criminal prosecution of 2 LAPD officers for perjury and false police report. The environment that allowed this to happen was officers passing off arrestees to the prior watch to avoid overtime. This report was eventually taken to court, and luckily the jury found them not guilty. We want to protect officers from being placed in this situation because it will, in the future, harm the police officers and eventually cause liability on the department. LAPD management has learned nothing from this, apparently, because many divisions have overtime policies that are definitely not consistent with managers managing overtime. All the officers want to do is go to work. All the citizens want to do is be protected. They don't really care about overtime. The citizens of LA, all they want is an officer at their door. When we have captains making sure that officers don't work overtime, when we have supervisors standing up in roll call stating you're not going to work overtime, when we have supervisors forcing officers to transfer their bodies to a different watch for them to book evidence, what happened to the chain of custody? We have officers that are signing disclosures and then being forced home. Things like that can't continue to happen. I do have to let you know that ERG is working on this. We just wanted to bring it to your attention, the Police Commission, so that you can also monitor it. The citizens of Los Angeles, it's a public safety issue, and it's an officer safety issue as well. Another officer reported that while overtime, okay, thank you. Thanks for your attention.
May I ask, you've got 4, 5 members of your board here, but I need a clarification on one issue, and the city attorney said I can, in fact, ask. Just tell me if I'm wrong. Last year, the amount of overtime in the budget and granted to the department was $15 million, doubled up to $30 million by some emergency allocation. This year, even though the negotiations have not been completed, that number has been increased to $70 or $75 million. My question is, are the issues you're talking about continuing on even though we're at a level that is 5 times higher in overtime than we had last year? In other words, $70 million isn't enough, or are we talking about issues that were last year's issues based on $15 million?
Sir, we're talking about $70 million is not enough to run a police department. However, the real issue, I understand the chief has to manage overtime, and it's not his fault. The mayor and city council gave them $70 million. That is not enough to run a world-class police department. Now, the issues with the managers managing it, that's where the problem really comes in, because there's public safety and then there's officer safety that is in jeopardy because of the limited amount of overtime.
Okay, he said that he thought, the city attorney thought my question was loaded.
Okay, I was going to answer it, though.
So he wants you to unload your answer and make it quick.
Okay, I'll unload it.
My question was, last year with 50, you described a whole bunch of problems. Are those problems continuing on even though the amount of overtime? Are you describing a problem based on 70 million or on 15?
70 million and 70 million.
Thank you.
The department cannot manage off $70 million of overtime.
Got it.
Okay, this concludes our public comment period. We will now go to item number 10, closed session. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item number 10A1 in accordance with Government Code 54957.
Yeah, it's going to be fast. We're going to be out of here. I didn't even need to go to the...
Emergency, operator 271.
The city of Los Angeles receives over 2 million 911 calls every year. Hello, I'm Mayor Eric Garcetti.
I'm Chief Charlie Beck. A significant number of 911 calls are not emergencies.
911 should be used for emergency calls, such as preservation of life, a crime in progress, prevention of a crime, or a public hazard.
If your call is not an emergency, such as a loud party, verbal dispute, public nuisance, or lost or missing property, you can dial 1-877-ASK-LAPD to have the police respond.
Remember, call 1-877-ASK-LAPD for non-emergency calls.
Los Angeles Police Department, what are you reporting?
Don't worry, Patty. This isn't going to hurt me one bit. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Shapiro in beautiful Encino, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. Open wide.
Help! I'm built near an earthquake fault. Don't you know that one day the big one's going to hit and shake me to pieces? People and pets will be hurt, and it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to repair me. Of course, if my owners learn the magic word, all of us will have a much better chance of surviving the big one. Now listen closely. The magic word is mitigation. This means made less severe. When it comes to earthquakes, you need to strengthen your home structure and secure the contents. It's like installing a security system. You pay a little up front, but you get to sleep better knowing that your life and most of what you own is a lot safer.
Now, let's meet Ariel and Anita, our earthquake hazard mitigation experts. Today, they're going to reveal the secrets of how to protect your home's structure from the big one. So listen closely.
Ariel, this is a beautiful house. This is a unique house on this street, in this neighborhood, considering the enormity of damage the other houses sustained. And this house received relatively little to no damage at all. Evidently, the homeowner spent a few $1,000s in structurally strengthening this home, and look.
It's done very well, Anita. What the owner did is he bolted the house down to the foundation. That prevented the house from slipping when the earthquake hit. He also braced the cripple wall, and he strengthened the chimney, and as you can see, the house is maintained very well. These different things together are what contributed to the home doing very well when the earthquake hit. Unfortunately, the other homes in this neighborhood didn't. The neighborhood was built prior to the 1940s. Let's go look at these homes and see what we can learn from them.
Okay, let's go. Oh my, Ariel, look at this house. I mean, people were in here when the earthquake hit. I mean, think of how frightened they were and the potential for physical injury and the potential of even loss of life.
Not only that, Anita, this home was full of many valuables. The memories associated with those valuables, the cost to replace them, not to mention the time also.
Well, this house looks like it fared pretty well. It looks like it just had a new paint job.
It did have a new paint job. Unfortunately, the reason it had a new paint job is because the home that was here before didn't do well at all in the earthquake. It had to be completely rebuilt because it was demolished.
Oh, that's terrible. Well, this is a real lesson then in mitigation.
A great lesson. We see the home at the very beginning that the owner spent a few $1,000s and was able to strengthen it so that it did well in the earthquake. Then we saw the examples of the homes over there that were almost totally rebuilt and the costs associated with that. And finally, the example of over $150,000 spent on a home that had to be built from ground up.
But this process seems impossible. I mean, how do the people find their way through this process?
Anita, a good start might be for the homeowners to go to the city or the county, ask them about strengthening techniques or tips, and also there may be some funds available to help them out.
Well, that's good. Well, where do we go next?
This is the fun part. I get to try to convince you to go under this house in the crawl space. There we're going to see different parts of a house and what may go wrong when the earthquake hits.
Okay.
Let's go, Anita.
Go.
Come on. Well, we're in the crawl space under the house now, and couldn't get Anita to join me. So I thought I'd have a picnic. Not a wise thing to do with a big muscular guy like me in a small space like this, but since we're here, let's see what we can learn. This is a cripple wall. Now, most homes built before the 40s have such a wall. It keeps it raised off the ground, and it connects the house down to the foundation. It's connected with foundation bolts, just like this one over here. And that's very important to make sure your house is bolted down because it prevents the house from sliding when an earthquake hits. Now, it's also very important to make sure our cripple wall is braced or strengthened with plywood, just like this. This plywood needs to be attached to the four sides of the house in strategic locations. We also have ventilation holes so that condensation won't build up between the outside and the inside of this wall. Now, in this house, they put the plywood on the outside. That's because it was built from scratch and it was more convenient. Probably in your house, if it's existing, it'll be placed on the inside. Probably should go join Anita again. To the house next door, everything that could go wrong did